Morning, church. As Clint said, I was called up from the bullpen, which I don't mind. I love getting to talk to you guys. Y'all are awesome, and hopefully I have a couple of things that might be worth your time this morning. I just want to start off with a couple of announcements. First of all, tonight we're taking the youth group and the bridge ministry to the corn maze down in Lubbock. Would love for if you have anybody within really 5th grade through 12th grade, or if you have somebody younger, I just ask that you accompany them if you're bringing somebody younger than 5th grade. I can handle some 5th graders and some high schoolers and some not very many middle school. No, I was joking. But if you have somebody younger than that, please be with them if you plan on taking them to the corn maze. But I'd love to have as many people as possible go tonight. I have a campfire rented. I bought some more stuff this morning. So we're going to be hanging out, going through the corn maze, obviously. I think, Kira, you told me this, that somebody the other day said it took him an hour and a half to get through the corn maze because it's a little difficult this year. So we're going to see. If we spend an hour and a half in the corn maze, don't call the police. I promise we're coming back out at some point. It might just take us a little bit longer. But so we're going tonight. We're meeting at the building at 4:15. If you want your kids to ride in the van, we'll be leaving at 4:15. So get here just a little bit earlier than that, please. And then we'll head out. And we'll go down there, hang out, go through the maze, cook some s'mores, roast some s'mores, however you do s'mores. And then we'll be back here at 8:45. So please be here to pick up your kids at about 8:45-ish. The next thing, next weekend, if you've not heard yet, we're doing a big trunk or treat here at the building. This is something that happens every single year. This is something that we call on the community to come out and help with. It'll be right out here in the parking lot. We'd love to see a ton of cars out there. I know Kira and I are dressing up. We're going to have a youth group Halloween party right after for just about an hour or so. We're just going to hang out. There will be prizes at the trunk or treat for the best car trunk. I have to be careful saying that. The best car trunk out at not the corn maze, out in the parking lot. So make sure to decorate your car. Give out some candy. There's going to be a lot of kids from the community. I've talked to the high school, the football team, Coach Haddock. I think he's going to send some kids over to give out some candy in their football uniforms and stuff. So make sure to come to that. That's going to be really cool. Again, there's going to be some cash prizes for the best decorated car. Okay, I think that's all the announcements I have for now. I'll probably come up with something in the middle of the sermon. But today I wanted to talk about, for just a little bit, talking about our youth group and what is going on with that. I haven't really given an update since I was hired. If you don't know me, I'm Brady. Nice to meet y'all. I started here in the middle of May-ish. That was probably my first day. May 15th, I think, is the day that I marked down. And so I've been here for probably 7 or 8 months, but I have not gotten a chance to talk to the congregation about what our youth group is looking like, things that we did this past summer, things that we might be doing this next summer. So I'm just going to start with that. First and foremost, our youth group is going pretty strong right now. We're having a pretty good turnout, especially on Wednesday nights. I want to say consistently, we split up into junior high and high school. And junior high and high school have probably averaged about 6 in each class each week, which is looking pretty good. We're splitting up and we're talking about Daniel each week. We've got some adults in there leading that discussion, and that's been going really, really good. The kids are really involved, and they're really enjoying it. Sunday mornings, where we've been going over this series on imperfect people being used by God to bring shalom. And I don't know if the kids are getting anything. I hope they are, because I'm getting a lot out of it just by making the lessons each week. I'm going through and going, wow, this is incredible. This is amazing. Talking about people such as Rahab. People that we look at and go, oh my goodness, do we really have to read this story again? People such as Rahab, people such as, there's a fly right up here and it is annoying me. Rahab and Elijah and Peter, we talked about Peter today. Peter being one of Jesus's main disciples in that inner circle, and we look at him and go, that dude is messed up. And then we like to walk around today and say we have to be perfect. Well, there's only one perfect person in the Bible, and it's really hard to achieve. Jesus did it flawlessly, yet everybody else around him can't seem to do it, and yet we're called to do it. So that's something we're talking about on Sunday mornings, and I think it's been going really, really good. I'm really enjoying doing that. Last summer, we attended a couple of camps. I took a couple of kids to Bandina. And they had, they're raising their hand over here. They had a great time. We also had some kids go to Blue Haven and White River. And then we took 2 students to Op Camp. And that was a huge success again. But Bandina is something that we're going to be starting up every single year. If you've got a kid, it starts all the way down at 10 years old. So you can send your kid whenever they're going into, I believe it's 4th grade. Eli, what grade are you going into? 4th? You're in 4th grade right now? Okay, yeah, so going into 4th grade, that is their first year that they're able to go. It's an amazing camp. Jay and Eli almost didn't see each other, so Jay didn't have to keep picking on his brother the entire time. But it's a time where you're split into different age groups, and you get to worship and be around people of your own age for a week, where you're playing games, where you're getting to fellowship with one another, and it is a great time. Again, Op Camp was a huge success. We maxed out the entire camp. We probably overbooked the camp. We had a lot of people. It was a great camp. Moving forward, this fly is still up here. Moving forward, we're going to continue going to Bandina. That is something that has been on our hearts, and the kids coming back, and they told all the other kids, you gotta go. And so we're gonna be still going back to Bandina. It's a fantastic place, and the good thing about this is that it's not just me that gets to go. If you want to go volunteer and be a counselor for that week, we would love for you to go. We would love to have some adults from this church be able to go. I promise you don't have to be with the 10-year-olds if you don't want to. Eli was really good. The rest of the cabin was a bit questionable sometimes, and it was 10-year-old boys, so it smelled nice in there. So you don't have to be with 10-year-olds. Like I said, it is 10-year-olds through 18-year-olds. So there's a lot of cabins, there's a lot of kids, boys and girls. We are always looking for more people. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. We would love to have y'all out there and get to fellowship and serve that week with us. A big change for this next year is that we have decided that we are not going to take the youth group back to Op Camp. It might come as a surprise a little bit, but we just feel right now it's not a place that I feel that it's not a place that we're being called to necessarily at this very moment. And if you've ever been to Op Camp, you know it is a place that you need to have a calling on your heart to be able to go. If you are indifferent about it, it makes the camp very difficult for anybody. So instead, we are going to be partnering with another church, Johnson Street Church of Christ down in San Angelo. We are going to be going with them to a place called Arms of Hope. Has anybody heard of Arms of Hope? Okay, sweet. Oh, we got one hand. There we go. Arms of Hope is a children's home down. They have 2 campuses. One is in Medina, right outside of Kerrville. And the other one is in Quinlan, Texas, about probably an hour east of Dallas. 2 campuses, both children's home, run by Church of Christ organizations. And they bring in groups every single year for a week long. And what we do is we go in and we serve with the kids. Those are kids that who really need some people to be with them, some people to love on them. And we get to serve throughout the morning and most of the afternoon, where we go and we do whatever manual labor they need done on the campus, whether it is cutting down a tree, whether it is painting a house, whether it is tearing up concrete. You name it, they have jobs for you to do. There's some very practical things that kids get to learn, like if you ever need to tear up concrete, Jay's going to probably get to learn how to tear up concrete. I'm not saying you have to, but we'll see. or learning how to use a chainsaw. That is terrifying whenever you have an 8th grader with a chainsaw, but they learn how to use a chainsaw, and they get to learn these practical skills that they can use to better their community and better the people around them whenever they get back. So that is something we'll be doing this year. We're partnering again with Johnson Street Church of Christ, which is a really great church. I know the youth minister over there. I got to serve with him for a couple years, and he's a great guy. They've got a great youth group over there. So we're going to get to go with them, serve. We're going to the Quinlan campus, so east of Dallas. It's going to be awesome. I'm super, super excited for that. The other big thing that I want to talk about before we get into our devotional this morning is the introduction of the Bridge Ministry. You've heard me talk about it a couple of times. You might have seen things on the screen about it. Bridge Ministry, that is going to be our 5th and 6th graders. If you live here, you know that the school system in Plainview has changed. And now there are schools for 5th and 6th grade, schools for 7th and 8th grade, and then high school. We've decided that instead of keeping the 6th grade with the youth group, we're going to split those groups up. So the youth group is now going to be 7th grade through 12th grade, and the Bridge Ministry is going to be 5th grade and 6th grade. Now, I'm not saying, like, Bridge Ministry is still going to do a lot of stuff. They're going to have designated teachers on Sundays, and probably once or twice every month, they're going to get to do the same thing as our youth group. Whether we're going to somebody's house, we're going to invite them to go with us to their house. I think we went bowling at the beginning of this semester. Again, they're invited tonight to go to the corn maze. So this is going to be a ministry where 5th and 6th graders get that crucial time where they're together, where they're not kind of being overpowered by the high schoolers, and the high schoolers aren't looking at them going, oh my goodness, will they stop talking in class? Because it's just what happens. So that is some new things that are happening in our youth ministry. And I'm super excited about it. Again, I've been here for about 7 or 8 months now, and I've loved every second, and I'm looking forward to staying and working with these kids. Man, it's a great group of kids. If you haven't got to know our kids at this congregation, you're missing out. They're amazing. They are sent by God, and they're amazing. I wanted to talk about this morning when is the last time you knew truly, and this is a big shift, I know, but when is the last time you truly knew how somebody else was feeling in any sort of instance? How many times have we said or have we heard somebody say, I'm fine? Yeah, Sam's raising his hand. We hear the words, I'm fine, I'm good, all the time, don't we? It's just kind of a natural reaction at this point. How you doing? Oh, I'm good. How's your day? Oh, it's good. My parents used to make fun of me all the time because I'd come home from school. How's school? Good. How's football? Good. Like, okay, well, and I just go up, go to my room and do my homework. Good has just kind of become a complacent word, hasn't it? It's just a word that we throw in somewhere where we don't really want to have a conversation. I said good on the worst days of school. I said I'm good whenever I had a terrible day at football practice. But yet I thought, oh, my parents don't really want to hear about that. I'm just going to, first of all, I'm going to smack this fly, hopefully here soon. I'm tired of this thing. Anybody got an electric zapper? Man, I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted. But the word good has become such an unimportant word in our culture because we hear it and we stop. Just like that. We're done. And whenever we ask somebody, are you good, or how are you doing, and they say, I'm good, how many times have we pushed on to say, how are you really doing? Good job, Sam. Yeah. But none of us like to do that, do we? We're okay with hearing, I'm good. Boom, I did my duty as a friend, I made sure they're okay. If they truly wanted to talk to me, they would have said, I'm not okay. When are we truly ever good, though? When are we truly ever really, really happy? When has something not bad happened in one single day? I mean, let's be honest. I love to come, and whenever I see my fiance Kira, she's like, oh, how was work this week? I'd be like, oh, it was fine. It was good. She just sits there. I'm like, what else do you want from me? I told you how the week was. And she's like, well, I mean, was it really good? Was it really fine? And I say, oh, okay, so you actually do want to hear about how my week was. Our youth, our teenagers, our kids learn that just stopping at good is okay enough for them. Whenever parents or teachers ask, oh, how are you doing today, Jay? They learn that it's okay to stop at good. I've had a good day. Boom. I don't have to say anything else. If you know any kids, if you are currently raising kids, if you have raised kids, if you work with kids, you know that good is not even the tip of the iceberg. That's probably like the air over the iceberg. Because our kids today are not okay, to put it plainly. Kids today are just simply not okay. And I'm not saying they're bad kids by any means. Again, I said I love our kids here at the congregation, and they're not bad kids. But how many of them are okay? There's a statistic, and if you were at the South Plains Youth a couple weeks ago, you might have heard this. About 50 years ago, the highest, the group that had the highest rate of anxiety was middle-aged women. Today, study in, I believe, 2020, maybe 2018, something around that time. Today, the highest rate of anxiety is found in teenagers aged 12 to 18. Can you believe that? How many, I mean, we look at teenagers and we say, oh, they're going to school, they've got football practice, they've got their phone, they're fine, they can go watch YouTube, they can go watch TikTok, do whatever in the world they want, as long as they're not annoying me while I'm trying to make dinner, or while I'm trying to do work at home. They're fine. And we stop there. We stop at fine. Even as adults, we hear people say, oh yeah, I'm doing good. I'm done. I'm done with that conversation. I know how you're feeling because I learned in that one word that you're okay. Good has a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people. Our teenagers they use the word good to cover up their fears, their hurts, their insecurities, and instead they just replace it with a simple smile and say, I'm okay. How many times have we done that as adults? Yeah. And it's scary to think that what's going on behind that smile is 10 times more than we could ever truly understand. Sometimes it's just not all okay. You know, we sing the song Blue Skies and Rainbows, and we love to sing that song. I'm just going to tell you, sometimes not all days are blue skies and rainbows, and most of you know that. Sometimes we think that our kids haven't learned that yet because they always have a good day. Well, they learn really early on that life is not all blue skies and rainbows. And unless we catch up with that understanding, it's hard to understand what they understand. It's okay to not be okay, though. That was something I had to learn very quickly in college. Again, if you were at South Plains Youth, you saw this illustration of, I had cups up here, and each one represented something else that I was doing or what teenagers were doing at any point in their life. So we had a cup for sports, we had a cup for student council, we had a cup for choir or orchestra or band or whatever. We had a cup for hanging out with friends. We had a cup for church. That one was interesting. We had a cup for God. You see, all of these cups were so full, and yet this one couldn't find a drop of water. We have placed such an emphasis on what these things mean in culture that we forgot about what this means in students' lives, or in our lives. And doing all of this, because I was a part of just about all of this in high school. I'm sure a lot of you are a part of a lot of this in high school. Teenagers today are a part of every single part of this in high school or junior high or middle school, wherever they are, and they forget about this cup, but this right here makes it not okay, makes them not okay. They're so focused on this that they forget to focus on this. Now this, focusing on God, God's cup, and filling that up first, man, we're okay, aren't we? We feel a little bit better. We feel a little bit better about what's going on in life and about the hardships in life. We feel a little bit better, but that's not what we focus on. We focus on this. We focus on anything other than what God has to tell us. We can find it in ourselves to watch 2 hours of TV. We can find it in ourselves to watch another hour of YouTube or TikTok or scroll on Instagram or scroll on Facebook, and yet we can't give 10 seconds to this cup. Isn't that weird? Isn't that so strange? And here's just the harsh reality is that as adults, as we do this, kids start to see that. I love my parents. I don't think we read the Bible near enough at home. I don't think we talked about Jesus near enough at home. We had the conversation every now and then. And it doesn't make my parents bad parents. It doesn't make any of you bad parents if you don't talk about Jesus a lot at home. But you're missing out. There's a list of who the most influential people on children are. First, obviously, is parents. And that's, way above anything else. Second is surrounding adults. And then third, which is probably about down here, is a youth minister. You have these two huge influences up here. And then there's, let's just say me, down here. What are these influences up here saying? I can talk about Jesus all day long in church on Sundays and Wednesdays, and whenever we meet during the summer, if we go have a Bible study and stuff like that, I can talk about Jesus all I want as I'm down here, but unless they're being talked about, Jesus is being talked about at home, Jesus is being talked about in school, which school is kind of a touchy subject, I know. It's kind of rough. My mom's a teacher, so I understand that. But I have about 1 hour a week, I think, with students. There are 168 hours in a week. If the only Jesus that kids are getting is at church, that's 1 hour out of 168 hours in a week. It's rough. It's rough. And we wonder why our kids are not okay. We have a ton of examples. If you have a Bible, open to 1 Kings. 1 Kings 19. This was somebody that we talked about a couple weeks ago. So we have Elijah. Everybody knows Elijah. Everybody loves Elijah. He's a pretty cool dude. Rained down fire from heaven and burned up the altars of Baal. And it's a really cool story. You get to see fire rain down from heaven. The harsh reality of it is that Elijah was not okay. I'm in 1 Kings 19, and I'm just going to start in verse 4. I think really all I'm going to read is verse 4. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a broom tree. And he asked that he might die, saying, "It is enough now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my fathers." Ooh. Wow. If anybody reads that and says Elijah was okay, they are not reading the same Bible that I am. Elijah was depressed. Elijah had some mental problems going on. And if you look at what was going on during that, you can kind of understand why. Elijah, had called upon this drought of all of Israel. He said, "King Ahab, you're not doing what you're supposed to." Drought over Israel for many years. And all these people are dying around him, and Elijah has the power to stop it at any moment, and he doesn't. and he's watching people die around him. He's had to resurrect a widow's son who he's staying with. He's had to witness the slaying of all of the prophets of Baal, and Elijah is not okay. Now, I'm not saying your kids have seen the slaying of 500 prophets of Baal. I really hope they haven't seen that. But your kids see a lot more than you think they do. We see a lot more than other people think that we do, don't we? We go through a lot more than what other people think that we do. Sometimes it's a struggle just to get out of bed for some people, isn't it? It's a struggle just to get up out of bed and go to work or go to school and do whatever you're supposed to do. And you feel like you can't say anything. How many times have we're told to come to church as we are. Instead, we get really dressed up, we put our smile on, and we come to church. I've been a victim of that. I put a smile on. I used to put a smile on all the time. I still put a smile on sometimes. It's normal. We don't want people to know that we're hurting. We don't want people to know that what we're going through is harder than other people think. We don't want other people to see us cry. We don't want other people to see us sad. But isn't that so hard on the people having to fake a smile every single week? It's so difficult. Why can't we just be authentic? Not just with other people, but with ourselves. Why can't we? We've created this image in our mind of what we're supposed to look like around other people. We've created this stigma that if I'm not okay, then people aren't going to care to talk about how I'm not okay. I'm just going to tell you right now, this church is a prime example of what it means to care about others. I've seen it in this church. I've seen it in this community, really, where it's talked about. It is talked about how we are not okay, and that's good. Would y'all agree? It's good to talk about not being okay. It is good to talk about the hardships in life, because whenever you internalize it, man, nobody knows what's going on. Elijah was able to talk to God and tell him how he was feeling. And God told him the truth. He said, it's not your time yet. It's not your time. Look at Jacob wrestling with God. I mean, he literally wrestled with God, which is something really strange to think about. And God never once says, I don't like this. I don't like that you're doing this. He says, okay, let's do it. Let's do this. God is willing to take that. God is willing to hear your hardships. Whenever you're angry, whenever you're frustrated, man, I can't count the amount of times I've been mad at God. I can't count the amount of times that I've heard other people say, I'm mad at God for this, for this. And God says, okay, bring it. I can take it. I still love you. No matter what, no matter how you're feeling, God is still going to love you. So why do we think that other people are going to treat us differently than that? Why do we think that if we share our hardships, why do we think that if we share that we are mad at whoever or whatever, why do we think that people are just going to throw us out? I was never told that as a child, but in my mind, if I thought that if I ever told somebody about something that was going on in my life, they'd be like, well, we don't want you here anymore. Go find another church. Isn't that strange? It's weird. If you know me, I love music. I love listening to music. I love singing in the shower, on my world tour of the shower. I'm going to introduce y'all to this band. It's not saying go listen to it right after. They have a couple E's by their song names, so that means there's some bad words in there. So on some of their songs, they have this one of their newest albums. They have a couple of songs where they talk about this struggle with what's going on in their life. The band is called AJR. They're a great band. And they have these songs. The first one is called The World's Smallest Violin. And if you have TikTok, you've probably heard it on TikTok a million times. But this song talks about how, my granddad, he went and fought in World War II. And then my dad was a firefighter. And so, they were pretty cool dudes. They had some problems. They had to witness some things. But then I have the world's smallest violin right here where I'm struggling with something, but I can't talk about it because they've done this other stuff. My granddad served in World War II, so I can't talk to him about the things that I'm seeing in school today. And I'm just telling you, some kids see some and hear some really bad things at school. And yet he says, I have this little problem that I can't talk about to anybody because nobody's going to listen. And he says, if nobody starts listening anytime soon, then I'm just going to blow up. I'm going to blow up. I'm going to either take it out on somebody else, or I'm just going to blow up and I'm not going to know what to do. The world's smallest violin really needs an audience. Growing up, I always heard this, you have, let me see exactly how I wrote it down. It was a kind of a, you'll be fine, or a, that's not really a problem. If you lived whenever I was a kid, then you wouldn't really think that's a problem. And whenever we do that, we discredit other people's problems, don't we? My grandparents passed away in the past 3 years, just boom, boom, just like that. My experience is totally different than one of my friends who might have had their grandparents pass in the same exact way. Two totally different experiences. And yet, sometimes we say, well, I've done that and I know how it is, and so that's not really a problem. You'll be fine. Their world's smallest violin needs somebody to listen to. How easy is it sometimes to just sit down and listen? You don't have to say a word. Just listen. That's all they're looking for. They're just looking for somebody to listen. And then the other song that I love, this whole album's about how he's struggling with this internal voice telling him, you can say this stuff. No, you can't say this stuff. You have to hide it all. You have to keep it all inside you. So this other song is called Humpty Dumpty, and he's talking about how, we all know the story of Humpty Dumpty. He falls off the wall, and he's an egg, so he gets cracked. And so he says, when Humpty Dumpty fell down, he just said, whatever, I'll just smile right through it, and I'll scream when nobody's around. That's the culture nowadays. I will scream into my pillow, but I will not fail to have a smile on my face as soon as I walk out of my bedroom door. It makes it hard. It makes it really, really hard. Teenagers learn that that's how you're supposed to live. Teenagers learn that if you don't have a smile on your face, they're not really going to care about your problems. They're not really going to care about what you have to say. You're just 14 years old. What problems could you possibly be having? Habakkuk. If you've never read Habakkuk, it's 3 chapters. I guarantee you can finish it in 10 minutes. If you have a chance today, read it after service. Habakkuk is all about the prophet Habakkuk saying, God, what's going on? Why is this happening to us? He's a prophet of Israel, and he's saying there's iniquity, there is unrighteousness going on in this nation. And God, you just stand idly by. You don't do anything about it. And God responds and says, does anybody know exactly what he says? If I told you what I was doing, you would not believe me. We get so mad at God. We want to internalize it, and yet God says, I still have plans for you. It's what we talk about in Sunday mornings in the youth group class is that people mess up. People are depressed. People are sad. People have anxiety. People have murdered people. Rahab was a prostitute. And yet God says, I'm still going to use you. And God says, I'm going to listen to you. If it's good enough for God, I dare say it's good enough for us to listen. So my charge is to be authentic. Be authentic with one another. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to talk about with other people the struggles that you're having. Teenagers, it's okay to talk to your parents and other people about how you're truly feeling, because y'all feel a way that some adults might not understand. You need to make them understand. We know that you go through a lot more than we realize. Kira and I were in high school 4 years ago. We know what goes on in high school. It's rough. It's okay to talk to somebody. My charge is to be authentic with one another. My charge is to love people in a way that they know they can come to you and talk to you. And this church does a fantastic job. I'm not just talking about inside the church. If all we did was stay inside of these walls, are we doing what Jesus called us to do and go make disciples? No. You were called to be authentic with everybody. So my charge again, be authentic, love one another, and listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Brady. He's laid a challenge down for us to, one of the things at church we're always supposed to be is honest, and yet when somebody says, how are you doing? We're not always very honest, are we? Thank you for that. We want to remember Mac Parsons, his uncle Dan Evans, also Joe Evans, who we got to know earlier in the year, has passed away. Please keep them and that family in your prayers. Again, as we go out each day, we put a smile on our face, and there's always troubles. We got things we're going to wrestle, but we got somebody wrestling on our side that can win, and they win every time. We talked about Peter in class this morning. He was well known to all of us for his impetuousness. I mentioned that Peter would jump out on the water and walk. He got out of the boat. I was impressed with that. Then he realized he was in over his head, and he started thinking about him on his own self, and he started sinking. And brothers and sisters, that's me. I jump out. Sometimes I'm over my head, and I forget to look at Jesus. So let's keep that in mind. I'd like to leave us with a charge from Colossians 3. It says, since you have been raised with Christ, set your hearts on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not earthly things, for you died, and your life is now hidden in Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory. Would you pray with me, please? Heavenly Father, please bless us with compassion. Compassion for one another, compassion for strangers. And as we feel that compassion, Lord, lead us to action. Help us to reach out to those in need around us, to those who are hurting, and Lord, to one another in a daily way, so that our strength is shared and that our days are spent worshiping and praising you and lifting one another up. Lord, thank you for the way you bless us. Thank you for the sunshine. We thank you for all the things that we have in this nation that we enjoy, that we know are only here because of your will. Lord, we pray for those that are suffering, those that are in war-torn continents. We know that peace is something that's not promised at all times, Lord, so help us to be grateful for what we have. Lord, we ask you to love us and forgive us in Jesus' name. Amen. We're dismissed.